This is really hard to talk about. It's really hard to talk about because it's such a fine line, and yeah, okay, right. So I've just had to write some things down because I was just yabbering on a second ago, just yabbering. Today I want to talk about eating after an eating disorder. So a bit of a backstory for me is that I, in the past, so when I was about definitely 17 to 20, I was in the throes of disordered eating and really just bad patterns that I found myself kind of in a vicious circle of. But I do want to highlight at the very beginning, like now, obviously now, that you can overcome it. Like, I genuinely do not feel that I am my eating disorder anymore. Now, I always find this really strange because I'm quite a like happy chappy and don't really know how people would take it if they knew that I had an eating disorder, or sometimes I think that it could come across as a bit like, oh, I've had an eating disorder, la-di-da, which that is just stupid to think, because eating disorders or disordered eating or bad patterns that you get yourself into are serious health concerns, mentally and physically, and you need to go and talk to someone. The first step is talking to anyone, whether that's a friend that you trust, whether it's a family member that you trust, whether it's your GP. There's online stuff like Beat is a really good website, or Samaritans you can talk to. Like, there are so many people and places that you can go and get help from, and it all starts with initiating that conversation. In its nature, eating disorders are very secretive, and so you kind of need to start by sharing that secret and by having a conversation. So that's just what I want to start by saying, because obviously that's very, very important. And yeah, just, you can overcome it. Like, I was like in A levels and I identified as having an eating disorder. Almost, it was like Lydia was a bit on the side, and not many people would know that, and I don't think from the outside to look at, I hope not, that it would seem like that, but that's how I felt inside. And once you have that mentality of, I'm always going to be thinking about food, I'm always going to be thinking about what I can do to burn it off, or what I can do to get rid of it, or what I can do to stop myself from eating it in the first place. Yeah, it's not your identity. You are not an eating disorder. You're a person that sometimes may struggle with eating, but you can overcome it. And that leads us on to what I want to talk about today, which is eating after having an eating disorder. So for me, I'm very close with my mum and dad, and so while I was living with them, after I told them about what I was experiencing, and once I shared that kind of secret that I'd built up in my head, they were constantly on any movement that I made. Like, if I didn't eat something, if I said that I didn't want something at dinner, if I said that I wanted something else, it was a bit of a battle, but it was because they were trying to do the best for me. And then you come through that, and like I said, I feel like I've resolved these issues in my own head through talking to people and seeing counsellors and having people help me and allowing people to help me to help myself. Like I said, I no longer identify with it, which then creates an issue in itself, because those near and dear to you don't actually know what you're thinking anymore, or how you're feeling. So no one can be inside your own head, and you have to be able to explain to them that when you are getting into fitness, or when you are training harder and trying to clean up your diet a bit and like feel a bit better, then that's not your eating disorder, that is you trying to be better. And it's a very, very fine line. So why I want to talk about this is because through my kind of when I started going to the gym, well, I've always gone to the gym, but when I started like putting forward this idea of wanting to be a personal trainer, I felt as though my parents were a bit like, oh, is she getting into all the fitness thing? Like, they couldn't guess where I was trying to go with it. They didn't know whether, especially having moved out, I think that created a bit more kind of uncertainty of my reasonings for it, and was it just another thing that was going to help me try and get into this bad mentality. But it's important to let the people that are around you know, one, that you want to fuel your body for life. I was listening to a podcast by Anoni, the Tiny Tank, Adulting. It's very, very good, and she had the Gynae Geek on there, and they were like, you're fueling your body for life. Like, people put so much bad stuff into their bodies, and yes, when you've had disordered eating, or like, there's all different types of eating disorders, and I think a bit more prominent at the moment is the orthorexia, where you're consumed by being healthy, and it's what's the word? It is obsessive. It's obsessive. You have to know in your own heart that you are in a good place. We'll come on to that in a minute, but that is the most important part. Also, putting wholesome foods into your body and eating good foods and taking care of what you're eating, not to the extremes, but in a sense, like knowing that, okay, 80% of the time I'm going to have a little conscious effort to keep track of what I'm eating, or to make sure that I'm not just eating junk all the time, or always going out for dinner, or that kind of thing. It makes you feel more confident. It fuels your body to be stronger. So then if you do enjoy going to the gym and lifting weights, then you are stronger, and that's going to give you more confidence. And so then it's a positive circle of continuation. Many people in the world that they don't have an eating disorder, but they feel terrible in their own skin. So you have to be able to explain to those near and dear to you that what you're doing is to feel better about yourself. Like, yes, you may have spent so long in a mindset of punishing yourself and trying to beat yourself into submission of looking a certain way, but that's not what you're focusing on now. You've changed your mindset. When I said earlier about knowing that you're okay within yourself, you also have to know when you need to talk to someone. Like, my whole family we're quite a close family. Sometimes I wouldn't want to upset my mum by saying something about how I'm feeling about myself, because then she'd think that, oh my god, we're going in a completely downward spiral again. She's going to be being ill and making herself like not eat and stuff like that, where it wasn't that drastic. But I've learned to explain how I'm feeling if I'm feeling bad about myself, but to also explain that it's not going to get any worse because I've been able to tell you, and if I hadn't have been able to tell you, that's when it would have perpetuated itself. A problem shared is a problem halved. Like, yes, you have to find the right people to talk to. Like, so my partner is quite good at saying, do you want that? Do you want to eat that? And sometimes people hear it. Like, I remember going to a barbecue once and he was like, do you actually want that? And this other girl turned around and was like, who the hell does he think he is? I was like, no, it's fine, because I've asked him to be like that. And sometimes, yeah, I turn around and be like, yeah, I want it, it's fine. Other times, it gives me that kind of chance to just think, okay, I'm getting a bit crazy here. Like, let's take it back a peg and just reevaluate how I'm feeling, why I might be doing this. Because I know I say that I no longer identify as having an eating disorder. However, I am fully aware that something tiny for anyone can ruminate itself into something a lot bigger and a lot worse than you ever thought it could be. So why not try nipping it in the bud? If that means that I have to say sometimes, like, look, I'm feeling a bit crappy this week, I'm feeling a bit demotivated, I'm trying to do my best with my eating, like eating well, which all people struggle with eating. If you unless you have no kind of emotional connection with food, which is very rare in society today because it's literally ingrained in us, like flipping eating a yogurt is sexual. Why do we need that association? Because it sells things, because we can connect with that thought pattern. So everything that's drilled into us is like, oh, food is this or food is that. If you can go into a restaurant and eat something just because it's going to fuel your body correctly, then flipping hats off to you, because that's good. Well, it's not good. Like, I love food. Like, being able to eat something that I think is delicious is so, it's so fulfilling. What I'm trying to say is that we all have downfalls. Even the best fitness people sometimes eat a little bit too much ice cream, sometimes eat too many Reese's cupcakes. That's normal. It's knowing, one, when to stop, and if you don't know when to stop, then two, when to say, oh god, I feel really, really crap at the minute, can you just give me a hand here? Like, no one is going to turn around and be like, what are you trying to do? And if they do, you don't want them in your life, honestly. See ya. See ya. See ya. So, I think that is a really important thing to do, is knowing when to talk and when to share. No, you don't have to be thinking about food all the time to sometimes feel like you're a bit out of control. Like, I was talking to a lady earlier today and she's lost like a load of weight. She looks really, really great. And I said, oh, what made you do that? She was like, oh, my friend was doing it and I decided to just go along with her. I was like, oh right, was it just a one-off, like, oh, she did it, or had you felt bad before? She was like, I used to hate myself. She said, I absolutely loathed myself. And yet she'd lived like that for 20, 30 years. So we all have feelings towards our body. Some people may have insecurities where they think that if you're trying to better your body, then they're putting you on a pedestal almost to knock you off. And they'll be like, oh, you're obsessed, you're doing this, why are you doing that, why would you want to do that? Well, at the end of the day, I want to fuel my body so that I can achieve really good things and I can feel strong and I can be confident and I can go onto the beach and like do bloody handstand worm backflips if I practice. I can't do a backflip, but I can do a handstand assisted. But you know what I mean? It's like we have this balance that we need to find in ourselves between, well, a balance with ourselves in terms of those that have suffered with eating disorders in the past, between knowing that we're doing it for the right reasons and then knowing when those reasons are becoming a bit too overpowering, and then we need to talk to someone, whether it's your mum, your dad, your boyfriend. Just say, look, you don't need to make a big deal out of it. And that is the way that I have dealt with eating after an eating disorder. Like, my mum and I went on a spa day not so long ago and we had the flipping deepest conversation that she got to ask me loads and loads of questions about why I did certain things and why I acted in certain ways, and it made me really understand that I didn't know how I felt during that time of my life. Like, I genuinely did not know at some points how I was going to react. If someone put a cookie in front of me, at 1 minute I could have been like, oh yeah, I'm not bothered about it. But in another mindset, I would have said, oh no, I can't eat that. Then for the rest of the day or the rest of the week been thinking, I want that cookie, I want that cookie, I want that cookie, and driving myself mad. So how is anyone else expected to understand my thought pattern if not even I can? So like I said, and I will keep saying it because it's so important, just talk. Like, if you think that someone is worried about you and you're not worried about yourself, explain to them, look, I'm in a really good place at the minute. I will come to you for help if I feel like it. Feel free to check in on me. Let me know what you're thinking. But I can't have that kind of constant second guessing, because then that could trigger something and could make me think, oh, actually, should I be eating this? Whereas if they'd have been fine with it, you'd have been fine with it, you would have gone on and it wouldn't have been a second thought. So yeah, I didn't realise how, like, in my head I know what I want to say, but it's actually really hard to form it into kind of a coherent video. A bit weird to talk about because, again, it's just a secret, isn't it? It's one of those things that I don't think, I mean, some people share it and great, like, that's if that's what works for you, but for me, I felt quite especially when I was going through it, I felt as though it was a bit attention seeking, which it's not in any way, shape or form. And in fact, I probably could have sped up my recovery if I'd have allowed myself to talk about it more. That is the nature of the beast. To finish off this little chat, share with those near and dear. Ask for help when you need it. Ask others what they're worried about. Obviously not just random people in the street. Ask people that you think are concerned with what you're eating. Understand where they're coming from, because you have to kind of take a step back and view the overall situation. It's no good living in your own mind, because everyone has a different mind. Everybody, which is what's so great. Duh. So yeah, if you like this video, then please tell me. Feel free. It's been interesting. It's been really flipping hard to get the words out of my head. But yes, it's just so important to just share what you're thinking. Share what you're thinking, because someone might be like, actually, yeah, that's a really valid thought. Like, you are right in thinking that. Try doing this to help you, or I need to change how I'm thinking. So yeah, just go for it. Have a little chat. Have a chat. And if you can't have a chat, write it down on a piece of paper and leave it somewhere for them to see. I used to do that all the time. I used to leave like notes under my parents' pillows, like, feeling really shit, can you help me out please? But it's just so important to share it. You can overcome it. You can eat normally, because I do this because even normal eating, what is normal? What is normal? And it's all about having the conversation and knowing when you need to tell someone, look, I feel just help me. Oh God. So I hope that helped. Let me know if you want me to talk about anything else. Quite enjoy talking to a camera. Yeah, anything, I am open to suggestions. Like, if you want to, I've got Instagram, which is lydiaclaire.fitness. Like, subscribe, check out some of my other videos. Go to lydiaclaire.fitness on Instagram. I have got a website, Lydia Claire Fitness. Oh my god, I'm just going to stick it all down here. I'm also going to put some links to, I'm going to put the Beat link in there. So that's the eating disorder like support website, which is quite handy. And yes, let me know what you think.